Hello, my name is Jörg Trobetz. I'm an orthopedic and trauma surgeon, and I was involved with the rural trauma program in cooperation with Glencore for the Mackay Health District. So rural trauma is a huge issue because rural communities are still disadvantaged in comparison to metropolitan or regional communities. They have less manpower, they have less opportunity to see major trauma because it is not as common in rural areas, and they have less access to training because they often can't get away from their workplace to visit training sessions in bigger centers. So that was the background why we developed this trauma program. We know that the preventable death rate in rural trauma is about 27%, and it was the same rate, this was the same rate before they introduced trauma systems in metropolitan centers. So what we like to do is we want to bring metropolitan trauma systems and adapt them for rural specific situations. In practice, this means we want to introduce high fidelity simulation, we want to work with virtual health, and we want to also focus on basic, common and commonly used airway skills and stopping the bleeding mechanisms. The issue with big trauma is that there is so much to compute and so many influences come at the same time and so many decisions are to be made at the same time that the human brain cannot compute this at once. So the only way to get better is through regular training, teaching, simulation, and this was the goal we had with the rural trauma program.
I'm John Haddock, the clinical lead for telehealth in the Mackay Hospital and Health Service, and I wanted to talk to you about a partnership that we have with Glencore. Over the last year, we have roughly had contact with about 250 participants in our rural areas with both on-site and off-site training, but also online training using a variety of modalities, including a regular roadshow where we travel out and deliver training in real time in those small communities.
We saw an opportunity for it to be in the Mackay area, and it's been a great partnership with the Mackay Health Service. They've got great governance and good insight into the needs of the community, particularly around trauma and emergency care. And it's been a great partnership to partner with those guys and to be able to deliver on the ground some simulation exercises to make a real change, a real positive change in how trauma and emergency care is provided in those more regional areas. Yeah, we've invested $100,000 last year and again $100,000 this year to be able to extend the program. We're looking to be able to make a real a difference in the education, the trauma education, emergency care management in our operational communities, so that they don't have to travel to Brisbane or to elsewhere further afield to get this type of training.
We deliver a roadshow 4 times a year into our smaller rural hospitals, which serves the same community that Glencore is working in. So what we do is we take a high fidelity simulation mannequin to those small rural places, and the nursing staff and medical staff can participate in quite real life type scenarios for the management of trauma and severe medical illness. The big advantages of this program, we can interact and share our knowledge and experience, and we get to see them working in the environment that they work in every day. It means also that they're rehearsing and practicing the principles of trauma care and the management of acute severe medical illness, instead of all trucking in to Mackay and working in a simulation lab, which is not the same as the environment that they work in. So it is a really innovative program because we are working on the ground with the people that work in those smaller communities every day, in recognition of, one, the isolation that they work in, but two, the fact that rural people have difficulty getting access to the same level and intensity of care when they are affected by trauma or severe medical illness. We also use the opportunity to rehearse the use of telehealth, particularly the statewide system of the Telehealth Emergency Management Support Unit, or TEMSU, which means that our rural colleagues are much more comfortable and proficient in the use of telehealth when they're dealing with somebody who is significantly unwell.
We've had a broad spectrum of people participate in the training. It's not just the doctors and nurses. It's the ambulance staff. It's the health centre professionals who have to deal with trauma cases out in the regions, and they've been able to participate. And I think that they've got some great skills out of it. I think they've welcomed the opportunity to have access to this type of education.
Hello. My name is Angela Lasky. I'm a registered nurse at Collinsville Multi Health Service. I have recently had the opportunity of attending courses and programs funded by Glencore as part of their Rural Enhancement Program for staff. I found the simulated scenarios the most optimal for learning because you get to learn in your own environment, an environment that you're familiar with. Being a small rural hospital, we often have to liaise with TEMSU and retrieval services. I found the program gave us the confidence to utilise these services so that we can achieve the best outcomes for our trauma patients. It truly is a wonderful program.
We're really pleased with the outcomes from this partnership with Glencore. We've noticed that there's been a really positive increase in confidence amongst our rural colleagues in the management of trauma, and a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. The feedback we've got has been overwhelmingly positive. So we're looking forward to continuing this exciting program in 2019.